Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Today we study suicide in Pali Canon. I think better say suicide in Pali Canon, not suicide in Buddhism. Because we have a different opinion, right? Different opinion. Suicide in commentaries, suicide in Pali Canon, different. And suicide in Pali Canon and suicide in Buddhism also different. So therefore, I think after we study today, I think you will know it. Because this is a very controversial issue, controversial topic. So then I will take a very, we'll study it together. Strong total condemnation to commit suicide can be found in some suttas in the Pali Canon, especially in Anguttara Nikaya, Gordana Sutta. So in that sutta, the Buddha talk about disadvantages of anger. So if we have anger, so there are a lot of disadvantages. And in that sutta, the Buddha also stressed that people commit suicide driven by anger. Because of anger, people commit suicide. This is a general cause. So here, anger here means hatred. You don't like the situation. You don't like your position. You don't like your current life, etc. So that is the anger. Because of anger, then they commit suicide. So in that sutta, the Buddha said that those beings, like oneself, each hold their self most dear. People love themselves. Yet, those who are angry kill themselves in various ways. Normally, we love ourselves. So there are some times that we hate ourselves. And also we hate our possession in the family, in the society, etc., right? Etc. Some kill themselves with the sword. Some who are distraught swallow poison. Some hang themselves with the rope. Some jump into a mountain gorge. So actually, these are just examples, right? Just examples. These that involve destroying growth. So that here you can see that the Buddha denounced, right? Such suicide involve destroying growth in our life, and deeds that cause their own death. When doing such deeds, they do not know that defeat or downfall is born of anger. So here, parabhava is a downfall in our life, in their life. So in Sutta Nibbana, we have one sutta called parabhava, right? So in that sutta, the Buddha talk about there are many factors that produce downfall in our life. So here, when you look at Gordana Sutta, you can see that the Buddha denounced the act of suicide, right? So very strong. In one sutta, Piya Jadika Sutta, Majjhima Sutta number 87, the Buddha retold a story of the couple in Savatthi who faced separation from their relatives and commit suicide, thinking that they shall be together in this life. So, actually, in that sutta, the Buddha talked about normally our happiness comes from our beloved one, beloved one. So, normally, of course, you left your children, right? Sometime, something negative thing happen in your children, then happiness will come, right? Then we love our parents. If they die, we feel depressed and we feel unhappy, right? So the main message of this sutta is the suffering or unhappiness, sorrow, normally, piya jadika. Sorrow comes from our beloved one. So the Buddha gives so many incidences. So one of them is this story. So there was a couple, they left each other, and the wife is living in their relative house. Maybe the relative is very powerful, and also they force her to divorce her husband. And also they are trying to arrange to marriage to another guy. So she doesn't left. Then she told her husband, so my relatives are going to separate we two. Then what the husband do is, so he cut the lady into 2 pieces, and also he commits suicide, thinking that they will be together in his life, So that means sorrow of the husband and fear of the wife. These are happiness, right? Happiness and suffering. So those sorrow arises because of love, piya jadika, because of love. So here, love is a kind of attachment, not a pure love, not a metta. So here also, we can see that the Buddha seemed to renounce the act of suicide, right? The act of suicide. Suicide in the commentaries. Before we talk about suicide in Pali Canon, so I think we should know the standpoint of commentary explanations. The commentary literatures advocate that suicide is a type of killing triggered by an anger. Yes, it is correct. It is such a rage that drives man to slay themselves with his sword, to take poison, to hunt themselves, and to throw themselves from precipice. And so it came to pass that, meeting their death by reason of their own rage. So they are reborn into torment. When you look at this explanation, the commentaries, I think the commentary trying to quote what the Buddha taught in Korana Sutta. So the suicide is driven by anger. So the Buddha also denounced, the commentary also denounced. So there is a people are often saying that if you commit suicide, you have to suffer 500 lives, right? In hell, both in Mahayana and Theravada, This is people say that. It's not correct. So let's talk about suicide in Pali Canon. So there are a few cases of suicides done by disciples of the Buddha in the Pali Canon, especially in the Sutta Pitaka. Sutta Pitaka. So I have a given translation of the suttas that talk about suicide in the Pali Canon. If we carefully observe all these sources from the Pali Canon, we can draw following conclusions. This is a mind conclusion by looking at the suttas. Looking at the suttas. And many of you may not agree with me, But if you do not agree with me, then try to read the sutta carefully. So, the first one, suicide is not encouraged in Buddhism, quite sure. So, suicide is not encouraged in Buddhism. So, as you know that the Buddha denounced, right? Suicidal case in the Korana Sutta. Number two, Buddhism obviously condemns the suicides motivated by anger, either toward oneself or others. So if you commit suicide because you don't like current situation in your life, that's not, the Buddha will condemn such situation. Then so we have to be very careful, anger, very anger. Many years ago, one guy approached me and that he want to get some suggestion. But he have a lot of debt that he couldn't pay. What I should do? So as a Buddhist man, not easy to give such suggestion. A lot of debt that he couldn't pay. To somebody. Then I told him, you better go to the Parsin, that you get money. Then you apologize that you were trying your best to pay you back. Currently, that I cannot pay. And he said that I couldn't pay. Because we have to solve the problem, right? So we have to go to the Parsin, we borrow money, right? We borrow money. Then we have to request and we have to, apologize deeply, from our heart. So sorry that I couldn't pay right now. Then I will try my best to pay it back. Then he said, if I cannot pay back, what I should do? I told him, you should face the trial. You should go to the court and go to the jail. That would be second solution. But I couldn't give any suggestion to run away from the problem, right? But most people will run away from the problem. Maybe they will not pay that debt, and also they will run away. Another method is to commit suicide. Some people may commit suicide, right? Because they don't like that situation that they cannot pay their debt. So it is not a solution, to commit suicide. That's the case. Not easy, to face actual problem in our life if the problem is very big. But anyway, according to Buddhists, we have a lot of many more lives, right, to go in samsara. So we should try our best to solve the problem. If cannot, we have to accept it. So here, according to Buddhism, obviously condemns the suicides motivated by anger or depression or fear, something like that. After World War II and many generals in the Japanese army, they commit suicide, right? They commit suicide because they have a shame, a shame. Then nowadays, even they commit mistakes, they will not commit suicide. They still admit, right? They still admit that they have done something wrong, and they step down from their post if they are prime minister, if they are minister like that, right? So this is the way to solve the problem, not committing suicide, right? Committing suicide. Then, so number 3 is important. This is a very critical, critical comment. But if one commits suicide, not clinging to the body and life, it seems to be a personal choice. It seems to be a personal choice. So after going through the suttas that I have already sent, so we can make following conclusion. So you don't have any clinging to your body, you don't have any clinging to life, then seem to be personal choice. Like an old man from Australia cannot commit suicide in his own country. So he went to Switzerland, right? He went to Switzerland and he committed suicide. He said that the life is really boring. He said that. So it's very critical condition, But here in Singapore, not allowed to do so. Not allowed to do so. But you can see the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew, he said that if there will be the time that I need machine, for life support machine, then do not use it. Do not use it. So this is his wish, It's his way. Because of that, I think the Dao do not use the machine, Seem to be personal choice. Seem to be personal choice. So this is very state controversial issue, controversial ethic in in religions. So in the case of Buddhism, of course, Buddhism do not encourage suicide, but the Buddhism will condemn if you commit suicide motivated by anger that you don't like. People are criticizing you that you don't like. You cannot solve very big problem. That you have a shame in your relationship, etc. So these are anger, motivated by anger. So therefore, Buddhism will condemn such a things, right? But there will be some time that you do not have any clinging to your body and your life. That seems to be personal choice. Personal choice. Many people in the West, they don't believe after life, and also they don't believe past life. So their thinking is after they die, finish, right? So they may have a personal choice that they want to commit suicide. So to make number 3 conclusion is critical. So you may not accept it. You may not accept it. So anyway, so we'll study 6 relevant suttas to make this conclusion. Maybe after we learn whether you agree or you don't agree, then you can make your own decision. You can make your own decision. So one of them is monks from Vesali So they took their own life after hearing the Buddha's sermon on Asubha Bhavana, meditation on fondness. So the Buddha taught to the monks, the Buddha, deliver Asubha Bhavana sermon, and the Buddha said that, so this body is unpleasant and full of impurity. So this is called Asubha Bhavana. So when you look at the suttas, so normally the Buddha trying to divide this body into 32 parts. So if we divide this body into 32 parts, there's nothing to cling to. Everything is impure and also unpleasant. So after talking about Asubha Bhavana, the Buddha taught to the monks that I will go to retreat for 50 days. So no one is allowed to come except one monks who will bring the food. No one is allowed to approach the Buddha. Then the Buddha went to the forest and stayed there alone for 50 days. Then within 50 days, the monks, after hearing Asubha Bhavana, after learning Asubha Bhavana, then they practice. Then they disgusted with their body. And they don't like this body. Because of that, they're trying to commit suicide themselves. And also they ask some people to kill them. So according to commentary, about 500 monks died within 50 days. So when you look at the story of these suttas, I think it is very hard to believe, hard to believe. The Buddha talked about Asubha Bhavana. Did the Buddha know? The Buddha know that they were commit suicide? The commentary explained that. Yeah, the Buddha knew it. Whether the Buddha deliver, Asubha Bhavana or not, they were commit suicide. Because in their past life, they are hunters. They kill enemies. Because of that unwholesome deed, they was born in hell. They suffer in hell. Then, because of their wholesome karma, they was born as a human being at the time of the Buddha, and they became monks. Because of their past karma, because they are hunters, they kill enemies, they kill so many enemies. So because of their past karma, they commit suicide. They will commit suicide. The Buddha knew it, and because of that, the Buddha talked about Asubha Bhavana, the impure nature of this body and unpleasant nature of this body, thinking that when they commit suicide, they will not have any clinging to their body. When they die without clinging to their body, and they will have, some of them may become an arahant, some of them may become non-ratana. So they were dying without fear of death. That's the reason why the Buddha took the retreat for 50 days, knowing that they will commit suicide. So it's hard to accept it, of course. It's hard to. There's similar story like that. So the same account of those monks are recorded in the Vinaya Pitaka. So in the Vinaya Pitaka, the Buddha denounced the act of suicide, saying that it is not suitable for monks and something that shouldn't do. In the Vinaya Pitaka, not in the suttas. So the same account of story, So the monks, they commit suicide. Then the Vinaya Pitaka, the Buddha denounced. And the Buddha saying that it is not suitable for monks. And it is something that they shouldn't do. They shouldn't do. So, but here, knowing they will commit suicide, and the Buddha do not prevent them to do so, according to commentary, because of past karma, right? Because of past karma. So, because of that reason, so the Buddha laid down a Vinaya rule for monks not to kill human beings intentionally, because by that time, many of them, they commit suicide themselves, and they ask some people to kill them. So they asked one of the assailant to kill them. So because of that, the Buddha denounced the act of suicide. So, and the Buddha laid down Vinaya rules not to kill human being intentionally. Killing human being entails parajika, the highest, and also, how to say, the highest Vinaya rules in the Vinaya Pitaka. So here, parajika means defeated one. So if you commit parajika, you will no longer be a Buddhist monk. You are defeated. So there are 4 cases that the monks cannot do. Number 1, sexual intercourse with the women, and also with the enemies. So this is the first one. If you commit sexual intercourse, then you commit parajika. So you will be, you are defeated. You'll be exiled from the sangha. So you cannot stay as a Buddhist monk. Second one is stealing. If you steal, so certain amount of property or other people, then you no longer be a Buddhist monk. And third one is killing human being, not animals, human being, intentionally. So the last one is talking about jhana and magga and phala without having them. So you talk to the people. Last night I entered the first jhana without attaining any jhanas, then I no longer be a Buddhist monk. So therefore, these are the 4 offenses that you cannot do as a Buddhist monk. So this is the background story. The Buddha laid down 1 Vinaya rules regarding with the killing. So in this Vinaya Pitaka, the Buddha denounced the act of suicide. So here, different, right? Different. Suttas, how to say, account and Vinaya account, different. So maybe there are some, how to say, some of the Vinaya rules the men cannot do. Maybe last week somebody asked me about abortion, right? Abortion. Number 1 is killing human beings. You cannot kill human beings. Of course, you cannot kill animals as well. But light offense, light offense. Number 2, you cannot give advice for killing. Just like the monks go to the place of the executioners, right? So they give advice to kill, how to say that, the prisoner, to kill at once so that he do not suffer for a long time. We cannot give any advice for killing. One of my teachers, this is my own experience, our masters is well respected, and another master in the same monastery compound also suffer severe illness. Then he was stay alive because of light machine, light supported machine. And the daughter come to my masters and ask what they should do. They explain that. So the other master stay alive because of machine support. If they stop support machine, then he will die. He will die. So they come to my master and they ask what to do. The doubters. So they ask what to do because most of the cases my master decide, like a monastery affairs and everything. But here also, second master is suffering. He stayed alive because of machine support. The daughter came and want to get advice what they should do because they cannot decide, So my master, without saying anything, entered the room. Without saying anything. Because of these Vinaya rules. So he cannot give any advice, even a hint to the doubters. So you cannot give any hint. So suppose if my master agree, if he cannot stay alive, then better stop machine, machine support. If my master say it is parajika, it's parajika. It's very, very set point, very set point. Then you give a medicine for abortion. If you give a medicine for abortion, it is also parajika. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that. Also, we cannot give the method of abortion. If you want to make an abortion, then trying to jump. If I say you trying to jump every day, then if the baby die, then parajika. Very, very important one. Very important one. So we cannot give medicine as well as we cannot give any method. Any method. I think about 30 years ago, one of the guys asked me some of the advice because she got pregnant with her boyfriend. So her boyfriend refused to get married. What she should do? So she asked me, it's very difficult, Then I talked to her, actually, I cannot give any advice. I think you better talk to your mother. You better talk to your mother, If I give any advice to her, parajika is very serious one, serious one. Later she, she used abortion medicine. I don't know which method she used. Then abortion, abortion. Then she said that in her dream, the baby came, blaming her. And also, her boyfriend also, in the dream of her boyfriend also, same, the baby is blaming that why they killing, why they kill him, why they kill him. So she became very so sorry and regret, making abortion. Then I can give suggestion by the time, Then I have to give that Venerable Angulimala killed thousands of people. Then he became an arahant. Without any regret, he practiced the Dharma, and he became an arahant. Given that example, maybe she feel released because she killed only one child, So that child is not full-fledged body, Then she feel very released, because there's no way to, console her, Then I have to give the story of Venerable Angulimala. So my point here is we cannot give any medicine, and also we cannot give any method or even any suggestion to somebody. You should do that. No. Then you cannot praise desirability or death in front of suffering patient. You go to hospital, then the patient is suffering, deep breathe, and also very difficult to breathe. Then after seeing suffering patients, then you thought to her, oh, you have a lot of good deed. If you die, then you will go to heaven. We cannot praise, the desirability of death. So therefore, we cannot give any suggestion to somebody, it's better to die like that. We cannot. It is also parajika. So if you look at, all these examples, I'm just giving some example, so you can understand that you cannot kill living beings, human beings, and you cannot give any advice for killing, for commit suicide, etc. You cannot give medicine for abortion, even for abortion, abortion. And you cannot praise death. It is better to die like that, you cannot praise. Okay, you have any question up to now? Okay, no question then. We'll go to another story. So this is from Vinaya Pitaka. So a monk trying to commit suicide by jumping off a cliff. Luckily he didn't die, but the guy who is cutting the bamboos died. He fought on that guy, He didn't die. So so the Buddha said that the one who commits suicide is guilty or wrongdoing, Taukata, which is the lightest offense among the Vinaya rules, among the 7 Vinaya rules. So when you look at these Vinaya rules, we can imply that committing suicide is not like killing other living beings, human beings. Because some people say that, some people argue that if you kill, that's a type of killing. If you commit suicide, it's a type of killing. Actually, the Buddha will decide, depend on your motivation. What is your volition or motivation behind your action, right? Behind your action. Later you will know it. When you look at this story, suicidal story, so the monks trying to commit suicide. But the Buddha said that wrongdoing, Taukata, the guilty of wrongdoing, which is we call it Taukata Apatti, which is the lighter offense among the 7 Vinaya rules. Then we'll study another sutta called Pona Sutta from Samdha Nikaya. I have already sent it to you. And then if you read the sutta carefully, you will make the same conclusion with me, the same conclusion with me. So in this sutta, the Buddha talk about there is a conversation between Venerable Pona and the Buddha are mentioned. So Venerable Pona is the role model among the missionary monks. So when you read the sutta, so you will know that Venerable Pona, as instruction from the Buddha, so the Buddha give meditation instructions. Then after that, the Buddha asks, where will you go? after learning meditation method from me, where will you go? Then Venerable Bona said that he will go to Sunapranta. Sunapranta is one of the country nearby Mumbai nowadays, India, northern India, Mumbai. Then the Buddha said that the people in Sunapranta are very wise and also very rapt. They were, when they see you as a Buddhist man, they will abuse you, they will revile you. What will you do? They are very rough and they are very wise. Then Venerable Bona said that if they abuse me, if they revile me, I will think that it is good that these people do not give a blow to me, with the fist. They do not use their bodily, actions, just verbal actions. Then the Buddha said that if the people in that area trying to beat you, what will you do? And he will think that it is good these people just beat me with the fist, their fist. They do not use stiff. They are not beating me with the stiff. Then the Buddha keep on talking. If they use the rod, if they use the stick, what will you do? Then Venerable Bona said that he will think that these people are good. They do not use the knife to kill me. They do not use the knife to kill me. They are just beating with the stick. Then the Buddha continued to say that if they trying to use the knife to kill you, what will you do? Then Venerable Bona said that, Venerable Sir, if the people of Sunapranta take my life with a sharp knife, then I will think. There have been disciples of the Blessed One who, being repaid, humiliated, disgusted by the body and by the life, sought for assailant, just like the monks in Vesali, right? So they're trying to look after an assailant. They ask them to kill them. So here, the monks who disgusted their body, then they're trying to seek for an assailant. But I have come upon this assailant even without a such. People will be killing him. The monks are looking for assailant, killer, but they come to me without. I don't need to serve, right? I don't need to look for them. Then I will think that's Blessed One. Then I will think that's Fortunate One. So here, when you look at the statement in this suttas, so we can learn, right? We can learn that some of the monks are looking for a killer to kill them because they are disgusted their body. No, they don't like this body because this is a full of impurity and pleasant. So therefore, they feel humiliated and disgusted this body. Because of that, they ask assailant or killer to kill them. So when you look at the story of Venerable Bona, then we can learn the attitude of the Buddha. And the Buddha said that, then you can go. Because then you can go, the Buddha said that, Then Venerable Bona went to Sunapranta, which is nowadays the place near Mumbai. And he teaches teachings of the Buddha, and many people become the Buddhist. Buddhism took root there, Um, so when you look at the this sutta, so we can learn. So the Buddha do not, in this case, the monks disgusted their body. They don't have any clinging to their body, to their life. Then they commit suicide. I think here we will have some point here in the 9/11 attack, right? 9/11 attack. So one of the guy, people in another plane, so they're trying to fight, suicide bombers, They know that the airplane will go to the Pentagon or maybe White House, right? They're trying to fight the suicide bombers, knowing that they will be killed, they'll be killed. In this case, so their concern is for the welfare of the country, right? For the welfare of the country. They don't have any clinging to their body, no? If you have a clinging to their body, they will not fight them back, Maybe they may have a very slim hope. Maybe they will stay alive, they'll be landed on the ground. So the act of fighting to the suicide bomber, without clinging to their body, thinking about their countries. Maybe the Buddha may not blame, the Buddha may not blame. In the case of soldiers, we discussed about last week, right? In the case of soldiers, without hating the country or another country or the people, if they are fighting for their own country, maybe the Buddha may not denounce, no? The Buddha may not denounce. How about suicide bombers, But they hate, They hate United States, Because of that they are committing suicide motivated by hatred or anger, right? Then it's not the same, It's not the same with the fighting for the country, maybe fighting for the family like that, right? Fighting for the family like that. Sometimes, some people may sacrifice their life for the family, for the country, without, clinging to their body, clinging to the body. The Buddha may not denounce. If you look at this story, this sutta, right? This suttas. Okay. Then I want to quote one sutta, Gaudika Sutta. When we talk about suicide, you should know this sutta also. So Venerable Gaudika, in that sutta, Venerable Gaudika fall away from the temporary liberation of the mind. Temporary liberation of the mind. Samayika Citta Vimukti for 6 times due to his severe illness. So Venerable Gaudika meditate, he attained jhanas. So attainment of the jhana is very short. Therefore we call it Samayika Citta Vimukti. Then he fall from jhana because of severe illness. So he tried to meditate, he attained jhana, then because of severe illness, then he fall from the jhana. Then he tried again, fall from the jhana again. Then he tried second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time, and sixth time. He fall from temporary liberation of the mind. So here, liberation of the mind is two type. Liberation of the mind, liberation is two type. Liberation of the mind is, your mind is liberated from negative mental state because of concentration, because of samadhi. The moment you are chanting, at that particular moment, if you don't have any mental suffering in your mind, all the problem in your life disappear the moment you are chanting. That's called liberation of the mind. Liberation of the mind. Then you are meditating, you focus on your meditation. At that particular moment, your mind is calm and tranquil, peaceful. At that particular moment, you forget about your problem in your job. You forget about your family problem or relationship problem, etc. At that particular moment, you will have liberation of the mind. Chitta vimukti, chitta vimukti. We can call it samayika, right? Very short one, Liberation of the mind from your problem is very short. Another one is liberation by wisdom. Liberation by wisdom, understanding. So when your parents dying, no suffering in your mind, knowing that, understanding that our life, our body, and the body of other people is impermanent. We will die one day. That is wisdom or understanding. Because of that understanding, you are liberated from sorrow, fear, lamentation, etc. Not crying, not even sorrow. So that is, we can call it liberation by wisdom. So that's the reason why we practice vipassana. Vipassana trying to understand the nature of our body and our mind in terms of impermanence, suffering, and non-self. If you understand the nature of anicca, dukkha, anatta, then you will have liberation by wisdom or by understanding, just for knowledge. But here, Pali Canon use the word samayika chitta vimukti, temporary, is very short. The commentary said that it is a Venerable Gautama attained jhana. Then the moment he attained jhana, he fall from jhana because of severe illness. He tried under 6 times. He decided to commit suicide when he is trying to 7 times. He decided to commit suicide. Why? His mind is temporarily liberated. Not in jhana. When you look at this statement, he is not in jhana, but after he emerged from the jhana, his mind is liberated from any negative mental state. At that particular moment, he decided to commit suicide. So he meditated for 7 times, then he attained jhana. The moment he is in jhana, he cannot commit suicide. He cannot commit suicide. Then he emerged from the jhana. At that particular moment, his mind is liberated from negative mental state. No lobha, no dosa, no moha, and also no fear. Then he commits suicide by cutting his throat. So the moment he commits suicide, he is a Buddhojana, just a normal Buddhojana, normal individual, not a Sotapanna, Ariya Pokala, not Ariya Pokala. Then he attained final liberation using his pain as a meditation object before his death. So he trying to cut his throat. Then severe pain, came in. So he trying to separate his pain, just contemplating the nature of feeling, the nature of pain, how pain arises, how it disappears, how the pain arises, how it disappears, arising and passing away, arising and passing away. That is vipassana. That's vipassana. So by practicing vipassana, he became an arahant. As soon as he died, he became an arahant. So we call it final liberation. Final liberation means becoming an arahant. So by meditating on pain, by meditation on pain. So here, a Mara by that time came to the Buddha, thinking that, so if Venerable Gautama commits suicide, and he will meditate on that, he will become an arahant. So Mara doesn't want it. So therefore he came to the Buddha and told him to prevent his disciple not to commit suicide. So the Buddha silent, The Buddha didn't say anything, The Buddha knew it. Venerable Gautama will commit suicide. The Buddha knew it. Mara told him. Then Venerable Gautama committed suicide. He became an arahant. Then after that, the Buddha taught to the monks, let's go to Kechakuta mountain, and let's go and see Venerable Gautama. So by that time, the Mara disguised himself as a cloud, as a cloud, going here and there, looking for the consciousness of Venerable Gautama. And the Buddha, he couldn't find any consciousness of Venerable Gautama. So therefore, he went to the Buddha and saying that he tried to look for consciousness of Venerable Gautama, where he was born. The Buddha said that Venerable Gautama was born, the consciousness of Venerable Gautama do not establish anywhere. His consciousness do not establish anywhere, do not go anywhere. Attain Nibbana, final Nibbana. So that means no rebirth. So Venerable Gautama became an arahant. So of course Mara became unhappy, depressed. Therefore he left. So this is what the Buddha taught in the Sutta, what the Buddha taught in the Sutta. The Mara said that I look for the consciousness of Venerable Gautama in every direction, above and below. I couldn't see. Where he had gone. The Buddha said this one. So that steadfast man, so that means Venerable Gautama, was resolute, a meditator always, rejoicing in meditation, applying himself day and night, without attachment even to life. That is the main point. Without attachment even to life. Some people may be sacrificing their life without attachment even to their life. If they have a good emotion, good motivation, it may not be a bad sacrifice for their life. Having conquered the army of death, not returning to renew existence. That means no rebirth. Having drawn out craving with its root, Gautama has attained final Nibbana. So he attained final Nibbana. So even though he commits suicide, so the Buddha know that he will commit suicide. So the Buddha didn't prevent doing it. So he commits suicide and contemplating his pain. He practiced vipassana, then he became an arahant. So the moment he died. So when you look at this story, we can learn, right? So the Buddha do not denounce every suicide. So here, Venerable Gautama commits suicide without attachment to life. According to commentary, he think that if I die without attaining, spiritual attainment, then he will was born. He was born in samsara, 31 planes of existence. So therefore he commits suicide. He wants to stop samsara. Okay. Any question up to now? Okay, so let's continue. No question. Then we will study another sutta called Chanda Sutta. Chanda Sutta. So we have two suttas, one in Saundha Nikaya, another one in Majjhima Nikaya. So Venerable Chanda, who commits suicide because of excruciating pain, unbearable pain, not from aversion, not from anger, hatred, but simply from a wish to be free from unbearable pain. Of course, when you look at this writing, it's very hard to accept it. Somebody cannot bear, excruciating pain, then you may think that it is hatred, right? It is anger toward that situation. But when you look at the sutta carefully, Venerable Chanda commits suicide not because of hatred toward that situation. He wants to release unbearable pain, not from hatred. So before we talk about Venerable Chanda, I think many of you may have a, thinking that charity or the Bodhisattva, right? So there are two Chanda, two disciples of the Chanda under the name of Venerable Chanda. One is the one who wants the charity of the Bodhisattva, Prince Siddhartha. And he also became a monk, and later, after Buddha passes away, he became an arahant. So another one is this one. So this one, second one is not famous. So the first one is the most famous one. So when you learn story of the life of the Buddha, you will know it. Chanda. So this Venerable Chanda is another one. So one time, Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Mahachonda and Venerable Chanda, they are staying together. So they are practicing meditation. So by that time, Venerable Chanda is severely ill. Then after meditation, emerging from seclusion, Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Chonda went to Venerable Chanda to ask his condition. Then they asked Venerable Chanda, so your sickness is recovering, getting better? The Venerable Chanda said, no, it's very severe pain, unbearable. A strong man is cutting, it looked like strong man is cutting my head. Severe pain. And now somebody is using the knife, stabbing my stomach, just like the unbearable pain in the body. Then he said that I will use the knife. So that means I will commit suicide. Friend Sariputta, I have no desire to live. Unbearable pain. Because of that, Venerable Chanda taught to Venerable Sariputta. Then I will use the knife, I will commit suicide. That means it's idiomatic expression. I will commit suicide. Friend Sariputta, then I have no desire to live. Then Venerable Sariputta said that, let the Venerable Chanda not use the knife, not commit suicide. Let the Venerable Chanda live. We want the Venerable Chanda to live. So Venerable Sariputta is talking to Venerable Chanda, if you need medicine, I will get for you. If you need food, I will look for you. I will support for you. If you need attendance, the one who look after you, then I will do. I will look after you. Do not commit suicide. Because Venerable Sariputta strongly gives such suggestion to Venerable Chanda, thinking that Venerable Chanda is stay Puthojana. Stay Puthojana. As a Puthojana, if Puthojana commits suicide, his existence is not sure, uncertain, because of that, thinking that. So Venerable Sariputta thought Venerable Chona might have died as a Puthojana, as he used to have an intimate relationship with the Sam family. He saw that Venerable Chanda used to go to one family, very intimate, close relationship. So therefore, he made conclusion, Venerable Chanda has a lot of attachment to that family. The Venerable Chanda is stay Puthojana. Because of that, he worried. Because of that, he said, not commit suicide. Then Venerable Chanda continued to say he will commit suicide. Then Venerable Sariputta examined whether he is Puthojana or how to say, the one who know the Dhamma. Then he tried to investigate thoroughly. Then when you look at the sutta, you will know that Venerable Chanda is an Arahant. Whatever question raised by Venerable Sariputta, he can answer in the right way. Venerable Chanda clearly said that you can consider that, you can think that Venerable Chanda commits suicide blamelessly. So that means he is an Arahant. He is an Arahant. So, because of that, after Venerable Chanda commits suicide, then he worried that he commits suicide as a Puthojana. Because of that, he asked the Buddha about destination of Venerable Chanda. And the Buddha replied, Bhikkhu Chanda used the knife or commit suicide blamelessly. Thus, Sariputta, should you remember it? Then Venerable Sariputta said that Venerable Chanda is very familiar, very intimate relation, close relationship to the family. And the Buddha said, no, having a close relationship, intimate relationship with the family is not blameless. The one who have a rebirth, the new existence, is a blameless. So here, the Venerable Chanda used the knife blamelessly. So that means, when you look at the sutta, it's quite clear. If we scrutinize the actual wording of the sutta, it's quite clear that Venerable Chanda was already an Arahant when he committed suicide. And the Buddha also confirmed that. When you look at the sutta, you can look at the suttas. So, but the commentary mentioned that why Venerable Chanda committed suicide, he cut the, same thing, he cut his throat, and he tried to meditate on the pain feeling, how it arises, pain arises, how it disappears. After practicing vipassana, then he died. He became an Arahant. Then he died. Because the commentators have difficulty to accept Arahant commit suicide. That's a, how can I say? This is a difficult, situation as a commentators, as a commentaries, to accept, cannot accept Arahant commits suicide, right? So when you look at this sutta, very clear, it's very clear. Also, when we talk about Venerable Vakali, I think we're trying to make a conclusion today. Venerable Vakali also commits suicide, similar way. So when you look at story of Venerable Vakali, his suicide case is identical to that of Venerable Chanda. He also has conviction that he is an arahant before he commits suicide. Similarly, the commentary cannot accept it. And the commentary said that why he is feeling pain after committing suicide, then he became an arahant, contemplating his pain as a meditation object. So, when you study two suttas, quite clear. So they too are an arahant. As an arahant, they will have a unbearable pain. They just want to stop their life, They just want to stop their life. Maybe just like an old man from Australia, So, as a Buddhist, also you may have a difficulty to accept it. So for that reason, I make a conclusion that if somebody is committing without any attachment to their body and attachment to their life, seem to be personal choice, So even the Buddha know that Venerable Gautama is going to commit suicide. The Buddha didn't prevent it. Knowing that Venerable Gautama will commit suicide without attachment to his body and to his life, So, any question? The topic is so heavy. Also, maybe conclusion is so, unexpected. You may not expect that such a conclusion because I think some people even blame me, criticize me to making such a conclusion. I think it is important to know standpoint of the Buddha, standpoint of the Buddha. We are titled with rules, how to say that, rules and regulation, right? Rules and regulations laid down by the government. Especially these rules and regulations are laid down by, God religious center, based on God religious, ideas. According to God religions, you cannot stop you cannot kill your life, because your life is created by the God. God gave you a life. You cannot kill simply, according to God religions. But when you look at two stories, not only two stories, maybe these stories, I think it's clear that the Buddha do not condemn suicide case all the time, even knowing that they will commit suicide. Mara told the Buddha, Venerable Gautama is going to commit suicide, right? The Buddha did not prevent. Even, the Buddha prays. So these brave men, they do not have any attachment to life, attachment to their body. So they attain Nibbana. Okay, if no question, then let's talk about Venerable Vakali. So actually, Venerable Vakali is a well-known Venerable, well-known suttas. I think many of you may have heard of it. According to commentaries, Venerable Vakali impressed with the beauty of the Buddha. The Buddha is so handsome, so attractive. So when you look at the Buddha, he's very happy. So because of that, wherever the Buddha go, he will accompany him. Wherever the Buddha lives, he will go with him. So as a lay person, he has a lot of duties. So therefore, he cannot go to the monastery all the time. He decided to ordain as a monk just because he went to see the Buddha all the time. So because of that, he ordained as a monk. So when the Buddha is preaching, he will be looking at him without, thinking about the Dhamma, He feels that just seeing him, it creates a lot of happiness for him, The Buddha knew, and the Buddha just waiting for the right time, right time. Then one time, Venerable Vakali is sick and severely ill, So the Buddha announced that he will go to Rajagaha, from Savatthi to Rajagaha. It is about 200 kilometers away, As a sick person, he cannot accompany the Buddha, He have to stay back in Savatthi. The Buddha went to Rajagaha. So, as the one who left the Buddha so much, he cannot stay away from the Buddha. So therefore, he decided to go to Rajagaha from Savatthi. So he asked attendants to take him to Rajagaha. Severe illness, even though he's ill, he went to the Buddha. Then when they arrived Rajagaha in the city, he requested the Buddha to come and see him. So compassionately, the Buddha come and see him. And the Buddha asks, how is your illness? How is your illness? He said that, actually, my illness is getting worse and worse, not getting better. Then the Buddha said, is there any regret in your mind? Because he is severely ill, So the Buddha said, is there any regret in your mind? Then Venerable Vakali said that, for a long time, Venerable Sir, I have wanted to come to see the Blessed One. But I haven't been fit enough to do so. So you want to see the Buddha. Then the Buddha said that, enough, Vakali. Why do you want to see this foul body, unpleasant body, impurity body, impure body? So now is the right time to talk to Venerable Vakali. So, Venerable Vakali want to see the Blessed One all the time without practicing the Dhamma, Now the Buddha decided that it's the right time to talk. Enough, Vakali, why do you want to see this foul body? Then this is a very well-known statement. Your Dhammam Passati, Somam Passati, So Dhammam Passati, Somam Passati. This is a very well-known teachings in Buddhism. One who sees the Dhamma sees me. One who sees me sees the Dhamma. So that means the Buddha want to equate, the Dhamma and himself. Because of this one, I think Mahayana one theory arose, Dhammakaya, theory, the teachings of the Dhamma, the body of the Dhamma. So when you look at this simple line, the Buddha said that if somebody understands the Dhamma, they will understand the Buddha, who the Buddha is, what kind of teacher the Buddha is, right? So the most important thing is to practice the Dhamma. If you practice the Dhamma, you will see the Buddha, even though the Buddha already died, already died. Similarly, if you understand what kind of person the Buddha is, you will understand the Dhamma, right? You will understand the Dhamma. So the Buddha said, for in seeing the Dhamma regularly, one sees me. In seeing me, one sees the Dhamma. So then after listening, the Buddha teaching, of course, he's very happy. Then he went to Isikili mountain together with attendants. He commits suicide. Then the Buddha taught to other monks to go and see Venerable Vagali. And the Buddha cremate his body, cremate his body. So the man asked where he has gone. The Buddha said he is attained final Nibbana. He is an Arahant. So when you look at the suttas, Venerable Vagali also, so the sutta clearly indicate that he is an Arahant while he is committing suicide. So maybe today I will explain the reason why they do that, Maybe if I explain next week, may not have any connection, but that to explain right now. So this is what the Buddha taught regarding with the Venerable Vagali. So he is one of the foremost disciples among those resolved through faith. Because some people have faith in the Buddha. There are many people, right? Among them, Venerable Vagali is, foremost. You can see that he came from Savatthi, right? Just to see the Buddha, even though he is severely ill, severely sick. Okay, so I think better talk right now regarding with the nature of Arahant, So there is this verse. This verse is from Theragatha. So from the Ida's verses. This verse is taught by many Arahants, like Venerable Sariputta, Venerable Cornenya, and Venerable Sankecha, etc. So there are many monks who explain this, the nature of Arahant. In other words, the body of the body. Normally we have attachment to our body, right? Because of that, we afraid to die, But in the case of Arahant, no fear to die, because they know that so much burden, the body of the body is so heavy, they know that. I do not long for death. So that means Venerable Cornenya, Venerable Sariputta is talking their opinion about the death. I do not long for death. So that means Arahant do not long for death. But many people long for death. I want to die, When you have a very big problem, you always say, I want to die, When you have a severely ill, I want to die, So Arahant do not have such desire, I do not long for life. Normal people long for our life. We want to live, right? We are struggling to live. Attachment to our life, attachment to our body. But in the case of Arahant, they do not have longing for life. Therefore, I think Venerable Chanda and Venerable Vagali and Venerable Korika, etc., say they commit suicide, right? They do not long for life. But I await my time. I await my time as a servant, his wages, his wages. If you're walking, you long for your wages, right? You want your wages. Similarly, somebody who became an arahant, they know the body of the body. They don't like this body, no longer have attachment. Normally, anytime, if they die, they got their wages. They got their wages. After they die, they will not have any rebirth. Any rebirth. There will be no existences, new existences. There will be no new body. If no new body, no suffering at all. Just like that, if you're walking, you want salary, right? You want salary. So, as an arahant and the Buddha, they no longer have attachment to their body. They know the body of the body, right? But that doesn't mean that they will die, They will die. No. The Buddha, at the age of 35, the Buddha attained enlightenment, right? Then Mara always told the Buddha, now you become the Buddha, you die. You should die right now, The Buddha said, no, I have a lot of things to do, So Mara followed the Buddha for 7 years, asking to die. Even at the time of, when the Buddha is going to die, when the Buddha is near, about maybe after a few months, the Buddha is going to die. Mara came, suggesting to die. So the Buddha said that as long as my disciples do not have any establishing teachings, I will not die. So that means the Buddha has a lot of things to do. Because of that, he do not long for death. He do not long for death. Maybe in the case of Venerable Chanda, this is my personal opinion. It's not taught by the Buddha, not stated in the suttas or commentaries. That's my personal experience. You may wonder that Venerable Chanda, Venerable Vaigali, as a arahant, they commit suicide. Why they do so? Why they do so? My personal opinion. So their illness cannot be recovered. Many people looking after them. So because of that, they decided to finish their life. That's all, I think. Not because of anger. So they don't want other people taking care of them. Maybe if I say so, maybe it's very dangerous, It's dangerous, People may be, interpreting it in a different, wrong way, in a wrong way. So when you look at here, maybe another verse, similar meaning. I do not long for death as an arahant. I do not long for death. I do not long for life. But I wait my time to die, I wait my time to die. Attentive and mindful. They live attentively, they live mindfully, without any hatred to, and without any desire to die, without any craving for life, craving for life. So they stay in the present moment, attentively and mindfully. So this is my conclusion. This is my conclusion. Arahants do not have hatred. So therefore, they do not long for death. They do not have a hatred toward their problem, toward their situation, right? Toward situation. The Buddha is blamed, criticized, reviled by many people, right? no hatred toward that situation. The Buddha suffered from excruciating pain, unbearable pain, One time, the Buddha even fainted. And Venerable Ananda think that the Buddha is dying soon. The Buddha fainted, Maybe when you look at the Buddha, no consciousness. But the Buddha is in jhana. Because of unbearable pain, So arahants do not have a hatred toward his situation or illness. Therefore, they do not long for death. In the case of Venerable Chanda, Venerable Vagali, and Venerable Gaudika, you might think that hatred. No. They also do not long for life because they have already approached greed or lobha. They don't have any attachment to their body, to their life. So even they are going to die, they don't have any fear. They are waiting for their salary, the time, They just live in the present moment, attentively and mindfully. That's the way arahants are living. So when you look at the statement in Theragatha, the verses of the Eddas, so we can understand that those arahants commit suicide not because of hatred toward their illness. Maybe because they want to just finish their life, So we'll go back to final conclusion. So the Buddhism will not encourage suicide, number one. Number two, the Buddha seriously condemned, suicide case motivated by anger, hatred, hatred. Then, if you commit suicide without any attachment to your life and to your body, then it may be personal choice. So the Buddha, even though the Buddha knew that somebody is committing suicide, the Buddha will not prevent, Suppose there is a fighting between two armies, Singapore armies and an army from other country, The one soldier talked to the commander, then I will kill all the soldiers. I will bring the bomb, So he will commit suicide. Then he think that he will save, right? His country and his soldiers, not clinging to his body, So his mind, motivation is to save the country and the people. Commit suicide. Many people die. It's also a kind of suicide, right? Suicidal bombing, but motivated by, compassion or loving kindness to the country. I would say that, Of course, it's very hard to say all these, hard to discuss all these issues because controversial one. Okay, so if you have a question, maybe one, if you want. If you don't have, then we'll conclude. Okay, no question. Okay, let's call it a day. Yo varatam bhavaro manu jesu sakyamuni bhagava kata kecho paragato bala viriya samangi Dan sukatan sara natamu pemi ragavi ragama ja masokan Dhamma masangkata mapatikulan Madura mimampaguna suwipatan Dhamma mimansaranathamupemi Yata chate nama apalamahu Chatusu si su purisa yugesu Atacha Bogala Dhammata Sate Sangami Mansara Natamupemi Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Good night, everyone.